Daniel looks a little different these days. Oh,
Hi.
there he is. You look like a sea turtle there for a while.
Yeah.
I was a little concerned. Worried that maybe Corona had bit you and turned you into.
Yeah.
How's everybody doing today?
Good.
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 Well, you're going to get an email from me this afternoon asking you, I know you're going to be really upset about this, but I'm going to ask you to not turn anything in because I need to switch from fax.
Oh, to Teams, yeah.
And I know nothing about Teams right at this moment. And so Mr. Benson's going to teach me, but I'm having huge troubles downloading stuff off of fax. I mean, it won't download stuff. It'll not open stuff, and I have to email everybody each time that happens. So I am going to ask you not to turn things in until I'm ready to go in Teams. I know that breaks your heart because you're just going to have to deal with it. Hey, Clayton.
Hi.
Hi, William.
Hi.
Have you heard from anyone that they are not going to join us?
No.
No.
We'll give people a couple more minutes and then we'll get started. Story time. Make sure you have both of your atheist books. We'll need them both. Excellent. Hi, Clayton. Good to see you. So how are the assignments going?
Pretty good. Yeah.
Are you getting into more
Easy.
of a, you're getting into more of a rhythm,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Getting used to it.
Catherine? Doing all right? Okay. Oh, thumbs up. Good job. Well, I'm happy to hear that. It's taken a while to get, get to a place where we know how much is enough and not too much. And so hopefully we're getting there.
Mhm.
We're going to be on page 334. We're going to start on page 334. Hey, girls. How we doing?
Good.
Good. My dog, Mabel,
Yes.
Yeah. I left chicken breasts, boneless chicken breasts for Chap to thaw on the counter.
No.
Mabel had a feast. Yeah. Yeah, Lane sent me a picture. Did you just thaw one chicken breast? Like, no, I had 3 on the plate. So I called the vet and he said, just keep an eye out for getting sick or being lethargic. Otherwise, I mean, wild dogs eat raw meat all the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully he'll be fine, but stupid dog. Sweet dog, but stupid dog. Well, let's get started. And so we're on page 334. You can follow along. And then you want to open up your Little Atheist book because we're going to fill out this chart as we go through this. So you're on page 91 of your Little Atheist book. And then on the left-hand side, you're going to write down, just write down the address of the verse. You don't need to write down the verse itself. If you want to write down a couple key words, you're welcome to, but it's not necessary. Everybody hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then what was predicted about Messiah concerning that. So here we go. Hitting the bullseye. If Isaiah 53 were the only prophetic passage in the Old Testament, it would be enough to demonstrate the divine nature of at least the book of Isaiah. But there are several other passages in the Old Testament that predict the coming of Jesus Christ or are ultimately fulfilled by him. These include Genesis 3:15. So you put that in under Messianic passage. This is what it says. This is God speaking to Satan. And I will put enmity between you and the woman. And that is so true, man. I hate snakes. I will put enmity between you and the woman and between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head and you will strike his heel. What do you find weird about that? It says, I will put enmity between you. Oh, Michael, it's not time yet. I'll let you in, but it's not time yet.
Michael. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Michael, this is the juniors. You're not, yeah, you're not until 2:30, sweetie. Okay?
I'm in the wrong room.
Yeah, you're in
Yeah.
the wrong room. I mean, you're welcome to listen. You've been through this before, but you're also welcome to leave the room and come
Okay.
back at 2:30.
2:30. I thought it was 2. Okay.
2:30.
Okay.
We have to meet at the same time as our class meets so that we don't overlap. So like, Mr. Hubert schedules a meeting the same time as I do. So if we meet when our class normally meets, then we won't overlap. Make
All
sense?
right. Mhm.
Okay, see you at 2:30. I meet you. Bye. So it says between you and her and between your offspring and hers. An offspring can be singular, but it can also be plural, right? But then what does it say? It says he will crush your head and you will strike his heel. So it's singular. It's not saying I'm gonna put enmity between you and everyone. It's a specific offspring. So it's a messianic passage. But the other thing that's interesting about this, oh, Hallie Sims is here now too. Hallie, I'm gonna have to talk to you too. Hi, Hallie. This is the juniors. You're the second one to do this, so I know you guys are excited to have some Zoom time. It's at 2:30.
Yeah, I know. I was just checking to see if it worked.
It works. Oh, Sladen's coming in. Sladen's supposed to be here. So you can go ahead and leave the room or you can listen to something you already know. Okay?
All right.
Hi, Sladen. Okay, see you in a little bit. But the other thing is that usually when they talk about the seed of something, we're on page 34 in the big book and 91 in the little book. They're talking about the seed of a man, right? I mean, I don't want to be gross on you, but that's sperm, right? Seed of man. But who is this person? What do they say he is the seed of? The seed of a woman.
Woman.
Yeah, the seed of a woman. So the Messianic passage is saying that this Messiah would be the seed of a woman. So rather than the seed of a man. Ethan Hayter, I don't even, what's going on? I'm just gonna leave him there. Is that mean for me to leave him there? No, it's not. Okay. Yeah, so the seed of a woman. Genesis 12, 3 and 7. This is God speaking to Abraham. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse, and all the peoples on the earth will be blessed through you. The Lord appeared to Abram and said, to your offspring, I will give this land. So this person, this Messiah, will be the seed of a woman, will also be the seed of Abraham. So is a descendant, Messiah will be a descendant of Abraham. And in Galatians, Paul makes the point that it says the seed, not the seeds. In other words, it's referring to just one person. It's not referring to all of Abraham's descendants, but just the one. And then in Genesis 49:10, it says the scepter will not depart from Judah. The scepter is the king's staff. So the king's staff will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until he comes to whom it belongs, to whom the ruler's staff belongs, and the obedience of the nations is his. So Messiah will be of the tribe of Judah. He will be a leader. He will be royal, and he will be of the tribe of Judah. So in other words, Messiah will come from the tribe of Judah, which is one of 12 tribes, and will rule, ultimately will be a king. Everybody got that? You good to go? Okay. Jeremiah 23, 5 and 6. The days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will raise up to David a righteous branch, a king who will reign wisely and do what is just and right in the land. In his days, Judah will be saved and Israel will live in safety. This is the name by which he will be called, the Lord of righteousness. What do you notice about that word Lord?
It's Yahweh.
It's
all in caps.
in all caps. So he will be called God, right? So you've got two things here. Messiah will be the son of David. He will be a descendant of David, but he is also Yahweh. He will also be called God. Because it doesn't say the Lord is our righteousness. It says the Lord, our righteousness. He is being called Lord, Yahweh. And then in Isaiah 9, 6 and 7, it says this, for a child will be born to us, a son will be given to us, and the government will rest on his shoulders, and his name will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Eternal Father, Prince of Peace. There will be no end to the increase of his government or of peace on the throne of David and over his kingdom, to establish it and to uphold it with justice and righteousness from then on and forevermore. So Messiah will be born a child, but he will rule from the throne of David. In other words, he will be God. Again, it's telling us that. Even though he's born a child, he will rule from David's throne. And then Micah 5:2. But as for you, Bethlehem, Ephrathah, too little to be among the clans of Judah, from you one will go forth for me to be ruler in Israel. His goings forth are from long ago, from days of eternity. So where's Messiah to be born?
Bethlehem.
Bethlehem. And everybody knew that. Even in Jesus' day, they said, he's from Nazareth. He can't be Messiah. Messiah comes from Bethlehem. So Messiah was to be born in Bethlehem, but he's also eternal, right? He's from Ancient of Days, or as the NSAV puts it, from the days of eternity. Who is the only one who is eternal? God.
Jesus.
Only God is eternal. So, yeah, he will be born in Bethlehem, and yet he will be eternal. Malachi 3:1. Behold, I am going to send my messenger, and he will clear the way before me. And the Lord, whom you seek, will suddenly come to his temple. And the messenger of the covenant in whom you delight, behold, he is coming, says the Lord of hosts. So Malachi is telling us that Messiah will come to the temple. And he'll come to the temple suddenly. What do you think that might be referring to? Anybody remember a story from last year's curriculum that we talked about this?
Was it when he went to the temple with his parents when he was little, and then he got left there?
It's not that time.
Was it when he went and he like overturned the tables?
When he cleansed the temple. It's entire, and that was sudden, right? It was like he's there, and now all of a sudden he's overthrowing tables, and so it could be that. It could refer to his second coming. It could be both. There's places where there's a prophecy that both has been fulfilled and is yet to be fulfilled. So this may be one of those. But along with him coming to his temple, there will be a messenger that goes before him that announces his coming. Who is that?
John the Baptist.
John the Baptist. Yeah. Well, John the Baptist himself, they said, who are you? Are you Elijah? And he said, no. Are you the prophet? No. And who are you? I'm a voice crying in the wilderness. I'm the messenger that comes before the Christ. And then Daniel 9:25 and 26. Know and understand this. From the issuing of the decree to restore and rebuild Jerusalem until the anointed one, Messiah, the ruler comes, there will be 7 sevens and 62 sevens. It will be rebuilt with streets and a trench, but in times of trouble. After 62 sevens, the anointed one will be cut off and will have nothing. The people of the ruler who will come will destroy the city and the sanctuary. Now this one is math, so you know I'm not very good at math, but fortunately I have the right answers to it, right? Here's the thing. It's when we talk about 69 sevens, that's 483 years. 483 years from the beginning of the rebuilding of the temple in Jerusalem, which, by the way, was a day of trouble. They did so in hardship. From that time, 483 years later, anyone want to take a guess? Hey, Peyton. How you doing? Good to see you. You doing all right?
Clayton was muted. Yeah, good. How are you?
I'll see your class tomorrow.
All right.
Have a good day. Okay, so anyone want to take a guess what year that is? 483 years from the rebuilding of Jerusalem? That would be AD 33. I just read an article yesterday that I found fascinating about the timing of Jesus' death, the year of Jesus' death. And due to the timing of his death being the day of preparation being on a Friday, it has to be either AD 30 or AD 33. And arguments can be made for either one. A stronger argument is for AD 33. And Daniel not rice, but Daniel predicted that. He prophesied that Messiah would come and would be cut off, would die in AD 33. Freaking you out yet? And that's in the Bible. So Messiah will die, will be cut off 483 years after the decree to rebuild Jerusalem. And that works out to be AD 33. And then it says the temple. So it says that after that, the temple will be destroyed. And that occurred in AD 70. The temple in Jerusalem was overrun by Rome, and the temple was leveled by Rome in AD 70 and has never been rebuilt. So Messiah had to come before that because the temple has never been rebuilt. Right now, you may remember this from last year, is a mosque. The Dome of the Rock sits where the temple once stood. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 passages with probably something like 10 or 12 prophecies. There are many, many, many more prophecies of Messiah in the Old Testament, and Jesus fills every one of them. But here's what your book says. Question: who in all of the history of the world is from the seed of a woman, from the seed of Abraham, from the tribe of Judah, from the line of David, was both God and man, was born in Bethlehem, was preceded by a messenger, and visited the Jerusalem temple before it was destroyed in AD 70, died in AD 33, and rose from the dead? There's only one. Jesus Christ of Nazareth is the only possible candidate. Only he hits the bullseye. Of course, the case is strengthened further when you consider the other aspects of Isaiah 53. Jesus meets all of those criteria as well. The prophetic case for Christ is strengthened even further when you realize that the Old Testament predicted that God himself would be pierced, as happened when Jesus was crucified. As recorded in the Old Testament prophet Zechariah, by the Old Testament prophet Zechariah, also written well before Christ, God says, I will pour out on the house of David and the inhabitants of Jerusalem a spirit of grace and supplication. They will look on me, the one they have pierced, and they will mourn for him as one mourns for an only child, and grieve bitterly for him as one grieves for a firstborn son. So they will look on God, and God will be pierced. Later, Zechariah predicts that the Lord's feet will stand on the Mount of Olives east of Jerusalem. These predictions refer to Christ's second coming, but the reference to God having been pierced, in other words, crucified, by the house of David and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, obviously refers to his first coming. In fact, the Apostle John quotes Zechariah 12:10 as prophetic of the crucifixion in John 19. You can see why Barry Leventhal realized he was in trouble. These messianic prophecies are beyond coincidental. They are far beyond predictions any psychic could make. Something truly supernatural is going on here, but many of his fellow Jews didn't see it. Barry realized that while the Jews have been waiting for a political Messiah, they failed to recognize that the Messiah would first have to come as a lamb to be slaughtered for the sins of the world. With a sense of intrigue, Barry contacted Hal once more. They reviewed the messianic prophecies again, particularly Isaiah 53. Hal then offered Barry a small booklet. This is an account of Jesus' life by a young man who knew him and followed him. Hal said, why don't you read it and tell me what you think? Once Barry picked it up, he couldn't put it down. The story had many Jewish elements, from priests to Passover. And Jesus was an amazing figure, a miracle worker who had great insights and spoke with authority, but with kindness as well. Barry didn't know it at the time, but he was reading the Gospel of John. He was particularly struck with the free gift of eternal salvation that Jesus offers to anyone who will receive him. Everything I ever wanted out of life, I had to earn myself, Barry remembers. And yet, here was Jesus offering himself and all his best gifts for time and eternity as a free gift of his love. Who wouldn't want to embrace such an offer? It was April now, more than 3 months after that glorious Rose Bowl victory. I suddenly realized that I had nothing that withstood the test of time, let alone the test of eternity. Very recalls. This was most graphically demonstrated to me by the Rose Bowl victory itself. Just a few mere months after the most significant event in my life, and perhaps in my entire life, all the glory, everything involved, was now slowly fading away into distant memory. Is that all there is to life? Barry thought. And then he remembered that Jesus, the Messiah, was offering eternal life. Barry knew intellectually that Jesus was the Messiah weeks earlier when he found those messianic prophecies in his own Tanakh. But believing that Jesus was the Messiah wasn't enough. After all, even the demons know that Jesus is Messiah. Barry needed to believe in Jesus as the Messiah. In order to accept the free gift of eternal salvation from the punishment he deserved, Barry needed to take a step of the will, not just of the mind. After all, it would be unloving of God to force Barry into heaven against his will. On the afternoon of April 24th, 1966, Barry was ready to act on what the evidence told him was true. He knelt by his bed and prayed, Jesus, I believe that you are the promised Messiah for the Jewish people and for the whole world, and so for me as well, and that you died for my sins, and that you are alive from the dead forevermore. So now I receive you into my life as my own personal Lord and Savior. Thank you for dying in my place. Barry says there was no lightning or thunder, only his personal presence and peace as he promised, which has not left me to this very day. Since this remarkable discovery, Barry has been reaching the Jewish people with the truth that the Messiah has come. The evidence for this truth is in their own scriptures. And the examining of the evidence for those scriptures is a focus of Southern Evangelical Seminary near Charlotte, North Carolina, where Barry currently serves as academic dean and professor. So that's all we're reading for today. We're going to answer one more question. What are some additional passages that predict that the Messiah who suffered in Isaiah 53 was God himself?
I have Zechariah 12:10.
Zechariah. What?
Zechariah
It
12:10
is,
is one of them. What else?
Zechariah 14:4.
Zechariah 14:4.
Yep, Zechariah 14:4. Anything else?
1937.
I can't hear you. What?
John 1937.
John 19:37. There are several places in John where it talks about his suffering. The parts of the Gospels that say he didn't open his mouth, like a sheep to the slaughter, he didn't open his mouth. Corroboration of this of these prophecies. Did you find anything else?
John
John
129.
1:29.
Psalm 129, did you say?
John 1:29.
John 1:29. What did you say, Sladen?
I said John 129.
Oh, you said it at the same time. That's fine.
Yeah.
Psalm 22, the entirety of Psalm 22 is a description of Christ's crucifixion. In fact, it begins, my God, why have you forsaken me? You may remember my take on that passage, that God hadn't actually forsaken him. He was quoting from a psalm that begins with feeling forsaken and ends in victory. And he was trying to comfort those at the foot of the cross that were his followers, I think. That's my take on it. Other people may disagree. Okay, any questions for me? Okay, so I'm gonna send an email. I don't think you were all here. I'm gonna send an email this afternoon asking you to not turn anything else into me until I'm on Teams, until I tell you I'm ready for you to start turning into Teams. And I have to create Teams first, and I have to know how to do that before I can create it. So I know right now, I know this much about Teams. And so Mr. Benson's gonna come teach me tomorrow. And hopefully by tomorrow night, I'll be up and running on Teams, and then you can start turning things in there. And I'm hoping it'll be much more user-friendly, just to give you a little window into what it's like. It takes me, what takes me 30 seconds to do, collect your papers in the classroom, has taken me as much as an hour and a half to do a single class. And I have 7 classes. So, yeah. So I know you guys are getting frustrated by this too. And I was, in fact, I'll be honest with you, Mrs. Schrog came in just before we started this, and she asked me how I was doing, and I started to cry. So then she took care of me and texted Mr. Benson and said, you need to come help this woman. She's a mess. So hopefully by tomorrow I will be better, and we'll be up and running in Teams, which I understand is much more user-friendly than faxes. It's not user-friendly on either end. In fact, if any of you sent me something I was unable to open, or Brick Twins, I can't open anything they send me. My computer says, nope, I'm not doing that. So hopefully we'll get rid of all those problems. Okay? Okay.
Mhm.
Well, it's good to see your faces, and this was a encouragement for me to be able to see all of you when I'm feeling like I'd really much rather have you here and not be downloading a bunch of junk. But I will see you again soon. Okay. Have a good day.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.